Hi there, this is Team TMR's Juicy Fruit. Welcome to my kitchen. I am going to be talking to you today about meal planning with special needs. This is my new segment, and you are invited to email me your child's full list of allergies and sensitivities as well as their preferences. For example, if they refuse to eat anything orange, or if they cannot tolerate pureed sensations in their mouth. Send me that, and then I'll be able to write up a week's worth of meal ideas for you. Now, the way I cook is in what I call the automated fashion, which means on the weekends, because I work full-time during the week, I make 2 or 3 large entrees that are acceptable for my son, and then we portion them out and we eat them all week. That's for lunch and for dinner. For breakfast, I do the same kind of thing, only on a smaller scale. I have a couple of recipes I rotate between, an egg recipe, a sausage recipe, that kind of thing. And we make them on the weekends and keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer, then reheat as needed. So this week, we are going to talk about a child who, like most of the children in the autism biomed community, is gluten, dairy, soy-free, avoids artificial colors and flavors, and this child is allergic to eggs. So that makes my breakfast automation a little bit tricky. Fortunately, this child can have pork products. So for this child, their breakfast protein would be either a breakfast sausage of some meat that they could handle. I have found buffalo, chicken, and pork breakfast sausages. I'm sure it comes in other varieties too. And something like bacon. You can pick up nitrate-free bacon at almost any health food store that has a full deli. Whole Foods has it, Sprouts has it, I'm sure multiple other places have it. You want to get the nitrate-free, you really do. It's kind of more expensive, but our kids need it. Our kids can't handle the toxins. So for breakfast, I would give them one of those protein choices, which I would cook a full week's worth during the weekend for the next week. And I would give them something else. I would give them gluten-free oatmeal. I would give them fried potatoes. I would give them an avocado. I would give them a piece of fruit. Something like that that you can grab fairly quickly and make fairly easily so that your child can be out the door and on their way to school within a reasonable amount of time. So that's breakfast. Lunch and dinner in my house are interchangeable. We use those 2 entrees that I cooked over the weekend, and we alternate depending upon what we feel like eating. So, for a child who cannot have eggs, one of my favorite go-to recipes for my son until he wasn't allowed to eat almost any meat anymore is meatballs. And when I say almost any meat, he can still have lamb, game, and buffalo. So in chicken, I could really still make these if I wanted to. I would just have to significantly change the way I'm used to doing it. And that's okay, I probably will. For this particular child we're talking about who can have beef, we are going to take a couple pounds of beef, and I'll warn y'all now, I don't use recipes. I cook according to methods. You're getting my methods here, which is why you don't see me demonstrating a cup of this, a cup of that, stir, stir, stir. You're not going to see that with me. You're going to hear how I do it, and maybe one of these days I'll record myself making something. We'll see. So, a couple pounds of meat. Now, the trick to making meatballs without a binder, which as you know has to have egg in it, is baking soda. Please buy the aluminum-free kind. You can find that at your health food store. Our kids deserve the aluminum-free kind. We're going to work hard enough to get medals out of them as is. So pick up some baking soda. The ratio, which is really important here, is half a teaspoon of baking soda to 1 pound of meat. Now, I love meatballs because they're versatile. You can make them with just about any kind of meat, and you can hide stuff in them. One of my favorite things to hide in meatballs is pureed butternut squash, which I find in the freezer section at the health food store. Another of my favorites is minced spinach. So think about what you'd like to put in your meatball, set it aside, get it thawing and ready, puree it if you need to, use the food processor or the blender, just make sure it's ready. Put your couple pounds of meat in a bowl, add your add-ins, add salt and pepper, and whatever spices you feel like. I've been on an Indian food spice kick for a while, so I'm adding garam masala and cumin to these meatballs, and it's absolutely fabulous. I would start with just a little bit, like a teaspoon of each, so you don't overspice yourself, and then figure out where your happy spot is. Put all of that in a bowl. Put your squash and your spinach, if you're using them, in the bowl with the meat. Sprinkle the baking soda on top. Again, the ratio is half a teaspoon of baking soda per pound of meat. You need to be pretty close to that. Sprinkle that on top, mix everything together as well as you can. Walk away for half an hour so the baking soda can do its magic, right? Now, when you come back, set your oven for 350, get a cookie sheet out. I don't, grease the pan before these go in, because usually I've picked a meat that's pretty high fat content. But if your meat is extraordinarily lean, you can certainly grease your pan. It's your call, or use a silicone baking mat, either one. Then I will use an ice cream scoop or a smaller scoop. It's whatever your child likes. And I will make meatballs on my baking sheet. 3 pounds of meat usually fills up a cookie sheet for me when I use an ice cream scoop. So that's kind of a perspective thing. And then you put them in the oven at 350 for half an hour to 45 minutes. Check them at the half an hour mark, see if they're done. If they are, pull them out. You don't want them to get too dry. Those I serve, well, if this particular child can have rice. So for this particular child, we're going to serve the meatballs with a rice pasta and some homemade tomato sauce or your tomato sauce of choice. And we're going to serve it with some green beans to make sure that they get their green vegetable. All right, so that's how I make my meatballs. For this child, I would also probably cook a chicken dish. I like bacon wrapped chicken because it's super fast. The kids love it. It is literally what it sounds like. I take chicken breasts, cut them lengthwise into about 3 pieces each, whatever the breast looks like it can take. And then I wrap each of those chunks in a slice of bacon, place it on a rack in the cookie sheet, and cook it at 375 until the bacon is crispy. I usually turn them once in the middle because crispy on one side, soggy on the other is just not fun. Then that's bacon wrapped chicken. Kids love it. It can be eaten cold just fine. My husband likes to put it in a tortilla with some mustard. So whatever you like, it's a great freezer meal. So to recap, today we covered meal planning for someone who is allergic to gluten, dairy, soy, artificial garbage, and eggs. I gave you the 2 entrees of my meatball trick and bacon wrapped chicken for dinner, alternated with a starch and some vegetables. Should be able to get you through the week. And some ideas for breakfast, some sausage or bacon with avocado or gluten-free oatmeal. And as a reminder, you can feel free to email me. I'm Juicyfruit from Team TMR at teamtmrjuicyfruit@gmail.com with your child's sensitivities, and I would be happy to come up with a week's worth of food planning for you in this same vein. Thank you so much for watching TMR Nation TV. We love having you as part of our community, and I'll talk to you next time.